Is filming in log worth it? Let's find out. So I'm the type of person that likes to skip steps. Jump ahead, kind of fake it till you make it, get to the destination before really knowing what you're doing kind of guy. My motto in life is literally, you'll think of something. I have a pennant above here that's literally the exact thing. You'll think of something, you'll figure it out. So all this to say, when it comes to filmmaking, I just prefer solutions that help me get to my end goal, get me to my destination as fast and efficiently as possible. So naturally, when it came to picture profiles, I was choosing ones that had subtle contrast, saturation, the image looked natural, everything looked really great in camera, opposed to shooting in profiles like log, where there's a little bit more processing and work involved. Until I started to experiment with different picture profiles, experimenting with log, and seeing how much better my image could really look and how much more feeling that could be expressed through color, the dynamic range, and how I could really immerse my couples further into my wedding films. While it definitely has altered my entire wedding process, from filming to editing to color management, all of those things, it definitely was for the better. And in my opinion, well worth the additional effort to really enhance my overall image. So this video is really to my past self, to anyone who is struggling with trying to decide whether they should shoot in log profiles versus Rec. 709. For anyone who is hesitant on log because they're unsure, or there's a lot of different variables that you have to consider when jumping to this profile. And while all of those things are true, I just want to break through that noise, change the narrative, and really just give you all the need to know information so that you can make an informed decision for your own work. Speaking of making an informed decision, you guys have to check out Uncut Gems. They are a high-quality video editing service that will help you kick backlog in the face and save so much time in your business. They recently edited Jacqueline and Joshua's wedding film for me, and honestly, they absolutely crushed it. They were able to replicate my style, the mood, the tone, and really tell this story in a powerful way. And right now, you can sign up and get 75% off on your first edit. So head over to Uncut Gems and use code WAYWARD75 at checkout so you can kick that backlog in the face and get back to being excited about your business. So what is Rec. 709? Rec. 709 is a color space or color gamut in which your camera captures color. The Rec. 709 picture profiles tend to have a bit more contrast and saturation to give you an accurate representation of how you naturally see color in the real world and on the screen. Imagine these different color spaces are different languages. Rec. 709 is native, and then log would be a bit more foreign, something that I am unfamiliar with, something that I need to really practice and repeat over and over again to just be more comfortable and confident while using it. Rec. 709 is clothed in color, and log is just a bit naked, because with log, this profile has been specifically optimized on digital cameras so that you can maximize the performance of the image sensor. It definitely gives your image more elasticity and range to color and dial the look that you're going for and really make those colors pop. With log, you're able to capture a lot more details in the shadows and the highlights, which essentially gives you more information, which equals more control. So when it comes to these two profiles, which one should you start with? If you are a Sony shooter, you've probably heard of S-Cinetone. This is a Rec. 709 picture profile, and in my opinion, S-Cinetone is the perfect baseline color profile that beginner filmmakers should use to sharpen their skills before moving into more advanced color spaces like S-Log. S-Cinetone is designed to give you that true-to-life cinematic tones right out of camera, making it super simple to capture and send to the client if you wanted a more streamlined workflow. Of course, even though there is saturation and contrast within these picture profiles, you can still manipulate it and elevate it to get the desired look. My LUT pack, the Unveiled LUT collection, is based off the S-Cinetone picture profile, and I have used those consistently, and they even work great within the log color spaces as well, as long as you're converting your log to a Rec. 709 and then using the LUTs. And for me, working in S-Cinetone just made a ton of sense, just from a simplistic standpoint, ease of use, the comfort that it brought me, because I knew that I was just getting beautiful colors. I didn't have to do too much color processing. It was a very streamlined and efficient workflow for me. And if you're just starting out, that is the route I would take as well. Because I'll admit, one of the biggest selling points from my switch to Sony was the S-Cinetone picture profile. The minimal color processing to get a beautiful image just made a ton of sense. That's why I stayed with Canon for so long, because their color science has always been really good. Essentially, I just liked cutting corners, going from A to Z as fast as possible, but still providing a beautiful image at the same time. Because time is super valuable, especially for me being a new dad. Time is in short supply around here, which doesn't really make sense why I switched to log now, but I digress. Now, there are pros and cons, advantages, disadvantages to both of these profiles. Rec. 709, you're getting simplicity, you're getting time back in your workflow, you're not having to spend too much time processing. With log, you get kind of a better image, you get a lot more dynamic range, you're able to really impact feeling through color. There are a ton of pros in that way. But the downsides too are things that you should consider, such as a prolonged workflow, limitations with ISO, being able to properly convert log to Rec. 709, a ton of variables go into using this picture profile. But with log, you tend to have a bit more forgiveness than shooting in Rec. 709 because you have so much information and control over your image. Log can be a lot more forgiving than shooting in a Rec. 709 look, just because log captures a lot more detail and information, allowing you more control. But there are different situations that may warrant you shooting in Rec. 709 profiles versus log. For Rec. 709, if you know that this project has a short delivery window, if you're just getting started, if you prefer a more streamlined process, and the biggest one is if your second shooter hasn't ever used log before. You definitely don't want to trust someone who's inexperienced with this picture profile, because there are a lot of ways that all of your shots could be potentially ruined, unusable, and you just don't want to go through those headaches. One of the biggest reasons why I refrained from shooting in log was just because on the surface it seemed really overwhelming. It just seemed like a process that I didn't want to just really dive headfirst into, because I was happy where I was. Things were working. I was getting beautiful color. If it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of mindset. But then, I just thought, well, I need to experiment. I need to try something different and see if I can really push myself and try to enhance and increase the value of my production, so to speak. And that's when I realized that log doesn't really have to be scary as long as you just practice with it first and you just experiment. I think experimentation is a good thing, especially in the wedding industry. And if you're just starting out, experimentation is what we all do to find our identity in this industry. And so when it comes to filmmaking, it's no different. To learn a new skill, we have to experiment, we have to practice. And so that's exactly what I did with log, and now I really do love using this profile. I haven't gone back to S-Cinetone other than just for YouTube stuff, but even with this video, I'm shooting in log. So just take it from my own experience, but let's talk a little bit about the challenges. For one, you do have a limitation with your ISO. While shooting in log, you only have 2 ISOs that you can choose from to get the cleanest image. But all of that to say, base ISOs is where I'm getting at with all of this, because it is something that you need to understand when you're shooting in log. I'll put a chart up on this video so that you guys can see the different base ISOs for each Sony camera. You can look this stuff up yourself. And in general, if you have a different camera like Fuji or Panasonic or Canon or any camera that offers log, make sure that you check on the base ISOs, what is going to give you the cleanest image while using those profiles. And one little pro tip that I will suggest is if you do start to shoot in log, you do want to make sure that your camera has ND filters, whether that's built in, God, I miss Canon, or having an external option. When it comes to base ISOs, it's important to know which one is going to give you the cleanest image possible whenever you're navigating these different profiles. So, which one should you be using? I think when it comes to Rec. 709 versus log, both of these profiles are great. They all have their place. If you are someone who prefers a more streamlined, efficient workflow, if you're someone who's just starting out, if you are dealing with a project that has a really fast turnaround time, a Rec. 709 is going to be great for that. And then if you're someone who wants to explore the wild frontier of color and get more depth and nuance, if you're someone who enjoys the color grading process, log is definitely going to be the best picture profile to utilize across the board. Honestly, for me, log has been a game changer. It's been great to experiment and do things a little differently than I normally would. And it's one of those experiments that just worked out in my favor. And I think that's just the best outcome we can always hope for when we do experiment, when we try new things. And there's really no one size fits all. One is not better than the other, although there's a lot of arguments that can be made about that. That's just my own personal opinion. For me, my mindset has changed. I've grown as an artist. For me, I actually find a lot of joy looking at a desaturated, very muted, flat profile and seeing color be brought to life within that image. For me, that just is so cool and super rewarding. But again, if you enjoy the simple life of color management and editing in general, there is nothing wrong with that. I was literally there a couple months ago. I just hope this video is giving you some insight into my experience so that you can weigh your options and make an informed decision and explore this next chapter of your filmmaking journey. So let me know in the comments, are you Team Rec 709 or Team Log? Thanks for watching today's video. Until next time, keep creating and telling beautiful stories. Peace.